goes and it's your better leave. I'ma swap it for time and that's take it from me. When we G to be based in 2 days, I'm on 3 of them gone. Palomino Patron, Cappuccino Tuton, Alameda song. Stack it up, stack it up.
Hello. Welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, guys. I was like, wait a sec. We're live. I do that every time.
Hello.
Now. I think you just get lost in the abyss of that song. Welcome back. Happy flush day. For those of you who've been waiting to get in positions, I know everyone was being super patient. Nobody FOMO'd in. Everybody just dragged their fibs up and set bids at that 382 perfectly. Except for we didn't. We got caught up in the euphoria. Everybody here bought something that is now a little bit shaky. But no, it was a good flush day. We're going to take a look at the charts today. We're going to talk trading. We got Gunny on the stream. We got Jetty on the stream. What's up, guys?
What's up?
I actually managed to come out unscathed, to be honest.
Good.
I got early entries, had my stops. They hit. I'm disappointed that they closed now. I made my money, but it was like, I wish that freaking injective long was still open, you know. But unfortunately, I'll take the win and we'll find another entry.
Yeah, let's talk. That reminds me, I could drop a little TRI alpha on you guys today if you want. The 3 high-low trailing stop strategy. If you use the 3 high-low trailing stop on Bitcoin, you have not been stopped out. Depending on your time frame, though, in the 4 hour, you have not been stopped out. So. And that's hard, right? It's really hard. You sound like you got into a really good, early, big injective long. And so it's just about figuring out exactly how to trail that up. You're like, yeah, I want to make sure this stays profitable, but I don't want to get kicked out next time there's a big cascade. And that's really hard to do. Some of the cascades were nasty today. What were the biggest ones you guys saw?
Did you see the CRV one, dude? The CRV one was absolute carnage. It's like went all the way down to 45 cents.
Was that a perp? No, just on the spot pair. Nice. I mean, perps obviously go a little deeper. Yeah. So if you, it's a set your bid kind of market. In this case, you know, coming right in, taking the 618, but like, yeah. I mean, you get the confirmed W, and really, it's just that I don't expect this to happen in one day. You know, I'm like, like if we pull back and roll through these reload zones, like that's going to be such a great buy. But it's like, nah, I think we'll just like wick it while you're having your morning coffee and then run it back. So
somebody sent me the wick on ARB. It's like ARB USDT.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know if it's on Bybit or something. It looked fucking nasty.
Yeah, ARB is one of the coins that I bought this morning, just because I saw ETH ripping. You know, the funny thing is that it was the ETH ETF murmurs that stirred this thing up, right? ETH took off, everything else seemed to come off, which is so funny. I mean, it's a little bit weird, not gonna lie, it's a little strange. Ethereum versus Bitcoin tends to be the harbinger of bullishness for all coins, and in this case, all coins were running already, and ETH was just weirdly docile and dormant, and now we've got ETH BTC putting in a pretty sick candle today. Obviously, that doesn't mean it has to be like a big uptrend from here, but it seems probable. Like now, there's kind of this new hype behind this Ethereum ETF, where they're like, "Wow, everything about the Bitcoin ETF except for Ethereum now," and I bet that's a trend we'll just see kind of continue until the BTC one is approved. And we're kind of probably all baked into this assumption that it will be. Even it's 90% likely, but
yeah.
So it sounds like ETH could have a little run here versus Bitcoin until Bitcoin's approved, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I'm still of the unsure,
I have a question to ask, possibly for Gunny, because he's more experienced, kind of like more around the centralized kind of TradFi mentality around this. And what I've noticed is that all these big moves, well, this big flush is predominantly obviously off the central exchanges, and then that seems to have kind of like filtered into on-chain around those particular coins. But there's a lot of the kind of mids in on-chain that are actually seemingly unaffected. I mean, I'm looking at DeFi. I wonder if you can bring up the DeFi chart itself. I'm just wondering whether, obviously, the influence of those big DeFis that are on exchanges probably. No, I think it kind of matches. No,
Like the DeFi perp?
No, the DeFi perp itself is kind of like an index, right? So, but it still reflects, because a lot of the big DeFi coins are on exchanges. But I'm noticing like kind of like the 100 mil, 200 mil and below, they haven't been affected. Like just the smaller ones, it seems like they've been unscathed by this whole thing.
I can make a comment on that.
Please.
I think the market as a whole is like kind of starting to mature a little bit, and maybe it's from this like TradFi crossover a little bit for the third time. I think that the way a lot of larger players are positioning is they kind of have Bitcoin, Sol, and ETH, and like think about it on a risk spectrum in terms of like getting market beta. So if those were like the three main blue chips of that kind of together represented the majority of the market, if like those are kind of all going to move up together, they're going to move down together for the most part. Like obviously in the last couple of weeks, Solana's had a incredible run. Bitcoin had a really powerful move before that. ETH, kind of lagged. But every major player that really could move the needle in the market in a sustained way with volume, they've all built this core position. I think like the majority of them, the ones that are that are smarters in for the long haul, and like have bought dips. They've been buying lately. They've been buying Sol, kind of TWAPing into it, but they have this core position of Bitcoin, Sol, and ETH. And then when you want to move down the stack, like if you want to take more risk, like you have more of a bullish view in Solana overall. Like the expectation for somebody that's moving money is like at a minimum, they're going to need to get the return of Solana, right? Or like at a super minimum, they're going to need to get the return of the market. And then they're going to need to get the return of Solana. But then you got to move down that Solana stack where like there's going to be 5 or 10 coins that you're really going to want to capture that probably are super indicative of the Solana of the Solana market or Solana ecosystem as a whole. I don't think Solana has quite come to that moment yet. I think because it's a little bit more evergreen than what ETH. Like ETH is very matured now. Bitcoin obviously is like the grandfather of everything. But like let's take ETH for example. Like within ETH, you're gonna have like the L2s, you're gonna have the Uniswaps, the Aves, the compound, things like that are just like the ETH blue chips, that if you want to get more exposure to ETH, you're gonna, like these big players are gonna buy those. And those are the things that are over $200 million values. Like these are guys that are pushing up into like the close to $1 billion valuations. When you get below that, the correlation of the assets within those buckets, like within the Sol bucket, within the ETH bucket, within the Bitcoin bucket, starts to break down. And so you get a lot more randomness. So you're not like, it's not exactly like the guys that are really moving the needle and pushing in like hundreds of, tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars. If they're covering because they from their short-term book or whatever, like to really move the needle, they're going to be covering that whole sector. So they're going to sell ETH, they're going to sell everything under ETH. But once they get down into the realms of DeFi that are a little bit lower val, that maybe have more asymmetric upside to them, I think you lose those correlations. So that's kind of the explanation.
Thank you.
Interesting observation here. Gunny, you ever heard of the January Barometer?
I've heard of the January effect. I haven't heard of the January.
Or the
Barometer.
January effect. Beamish calls it the January Barometer. It's kind of like you take a look at the first 2 weeks of January, whether that's in the indexes or whatever, and that kind of gives you an indication of how the year is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what the January effect is what you're talking about. But interestingly enough, I was just lining up Solana, Bitcoin, and ETH while you were chatting, and you can see here, and I remember this because it's one of the bags I bought at the start of the year after the FTX implosion. I reset my portfolio. I was like, okay, I'm deploying. Where is it going to be? Like ETH, Bitcoin, Solana, and Solana 2x'd in like 2 weeks. And it was then the most boring coin all year. There was things running, going hot this way and that way. Bitcoin went up 100%. All these things happened, and Solana didn't fucking move. And yet, here we are in the same year, and the January Barometer would have indicated that it was going to outperform bigly versus the other stuff. And this is just these 3 coins. There's probably a bunch of other ones in here that have done well too. Injective, some others. But I find it interesting that the first 2 weeks of January really, as Brian would teach, kind of predicted that it would also end the year with a fairly large outsized return, which it has, or at least it's looking like it will. I don't think it's going to lose ground too much in the next month and a half, but let's see. It's not jinx.
I mean, it's incredible. In the wake of this, like, you know, the FTX estate selling, in the wake of,
apparently they are selling too. Like, people have the wallet and they're like, bro, these guys are offloading like a good amount every day. And good Solana don't give a fuck. Honey Badger don't care.
Honey Badger don't care.
Speaking of Honey Badger, shout out to our homie Chris over at Badger. Those guys, look at this thing today.
Show me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
70%.
It's hard to see on there. We're gonna go to a real chart. Candles, and we're gonna get all these comps out of here. Look at Badger today, bro. Badger does not have a nuke candle on it. It's a vertical nuke.
Pretty much.
So
it has slowed down though. This flash definitely stopped it in its tracks. So.
What's that?
It stopped in its tracks. It was really moving, and then the flash happened and it stopped. But it didn't nuke.
I don't know about that. It's up 75%. I think it can stop without saying it stopped. But it did. It did. It's like it stopped after 75%. It went up 75% today. It got an announcement probably right on this minute here of Binance perps being listed or coming up being listed soon. And that's funny because that's the second time now fairly recently that I saw that, which is weird because Binance or any perps being listed is often, it's like a Binance listing, Coinbase listing. Like, it's usually not a huge, yeah, like not great. But maybe, you know, whoever those market makers are, like the theory would go, you know, I guess they would say, well, no, they're just going to pump it up so when their perps go live, they can short it. But whatever it is, the thing is ripping today. I just asked Chris, I said, what's going on, dude? You guys announced something recently? And he basically just said, he thinks a lot of it has to do with just this BTC proxy. I mean, Badger is Bitcoin DeFi on Ethereum, and there's not a whole lot of tokens that are tangential to BTC. And so he's obviously, and they're grinding, and he's like, and we're not scammers. So that goes a long way too. So, you know, they're surviving, they're grinding, and they're building a lot of stuff. And then they have the eBTC protocol stuff coming up soon. So yeah, I just wanted to give them a shout out. I love Badger. I've been to some of their Badger houses. I've met the team. They're great, smart, sharp guys. They survived a big hack and paid everyone back. And they just put in some really sweet W's. I mean, they hit the bottom here at June, and then just www.moon.com. I bet they're coming into a chaos level.
So do they would you proxy Badger to BTC, or would you proxy it to ETH?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think more Ethereum, but it should be a Bitcoin. Like, it's the best Bitcoin yield you can get on Ethereum that I know of, certainly with any kind of lendiness.
Is this a signal of a pending, like a lead indicator of an ETH move coming? Well,
ETH is moving, right? So ETH, I don't know how aligned they were exactly, but here's the thing. Here's what's interesting to me. It's kind of poetic. And as we talked about just before we're getting on this, like, bull market, you know, is the bull market back? When you're in a strong bull market, you get those like insatiable moves up where everything's just like FOMO and you don't own enough and it's never quite satisfactory, even though things are going up. And then it just goes burn, nuke, and it flushes the books. It kind of recovers, and then it chills, and then it works its way higher. and so that's why I said as we're coming in, I was like, if we go to new highs on all these coins now, like we're officially just back in FU bull, and you could pretty much long anything on the breakout, coming up from this nuke. Any highs that were made prior to that nuke, if we break to any new high above that, like you could basically say we're taking the next leg. Point I'm trying to make is it's interesting because Ethereum Bitcoin pair rallying is typically your call to like altcoins and all that. This time it went a little backwards. Altcoins started pushing up versus USD. Now ETH finally breaks out, and that actually marks the nuke. So
Yeah,
it would be poetic if this is Ethereum breaking into this previous bull market range, which Bitcoin already did a few weeks ago. And that nuke that has just cleared all the books, all the perps, everything's reset now. If this just starts, this marks the beginning. Like maybe in 2 months, a month, we look back and we're like, damn, that was the beginning of the alt season, alt rally, whatever. What we've seen so far is sick, but it's child's play compared to what happens when shit really goes.
What was the 2020 move? Was it like, what was the precursor to DeFi 1.0 move? There was like, I want to say it was like the summer of 2020.
Yeah, it was the DeFi summer.
Move, and then that was the original DeFi summer. And then everything moved, and then everything sold off like 40% or something. And then it like recoiled and went to town for a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of rallied like July, August, and then soft September as always. Kind of a really boring, if I recall correctly, it was a really boring October, November, December. I remember Christmas that December because that was the 1-inch airdrop. It was like really one of the first Sybil, airdrops. I Sybiled it by accident. I saw like an article in August, and I farmed 25 wallets. And on Christmas Eve at 7 p.m., they announced that they were going to. So it was like $2,000 a wallet. I was thrilled.
You did it by accident. That 25 wallets does not sound like it was by accident.
Well, it was an accident because by the time it came, I thought it for sure. Like I was like, oh, I guess they're not doing an airdrop because it was just months in the past, and I had like $100 of dust in each wallet, and I was like, yeah, I'll go get that later someday. And then on Christmas Eve, on the night I promised my lady I would spend with her, I was like, no work tonight, honey. I swear, it's Christmas. It's you and me. And then it was like 7 o'clock. We got a bottle of champagne. We're just sitting around, and then it's like, honey, I got to go farm this airdrop. I got to go sell it. It's worth like $50K. Honey. So it was pretty funny. Anyways, that was the end of 2020. And then, yeah, really like January, we just went and just started to move really hard into that April.
So you know what I find really interesting about what's played out, particularly over the last 3 weeks? I mean, let's face it, it started at the beginning of the year. We've had 120% on Bitcoin. I think today probably pushed it over 120%. And everything else kind of like was rolling over, and it was chop city, but Bitcoin did its thing. And it seems like everyone's almost forgotten that Bitcoin's been doing its thing for a lot longer than we kind of used to seeing it do. And maybe that's a part of maturity. I don't know what that is. So, you
it's
could
really
argue,
like all year, right?
Yeah, dude, it's been the whole year. And it's like, we really need to take stock of that. And then, so what's just happened in the last 8 hours is that Ethereum's been quiet. That ETH BTC chart definitely looks like it's bottomed. And now it seems like we're going into the catalyst that is Ethereum. And maybe now's the time to start looking towards Ethereum and what are the beta players, alpha players, call them what you want, leverage players, LIDA, all that kind of stuff, liquid stake derivatives. Is that kind of like the next move? Does Solana then also continue to do its thing with its own liquid staking stuff? And I think what I'm trying to get across here is that this space has evolved to the extent that maybe things have expanded, maybe things aren't as straightforward as they were before. I mean, obviously things evolve, they rhyme, all that kind of stuff. But I'm seeing something really interesting at the moment, and if it carries on, I think we're going to have a lot of stories to talk about going into the new year.
Yeah, is this? Are we starting to cycle? Are we starting the hot ball of money like that started in, like you said, like Bitcoin's been slowly creeping all year. I mean, Bitcoin at the beginning of the year was what? It's 17,000.
Dude, it hit 15 and a half.
Yeah.
Less, lower. It's even grosser. Yeah.
And then you look at, like, you had all this asymmetric upside in Solana because it was these like exogenous factors that were moving it out of whack, thanks to FTX and all the bullshit coming with that. And that basically is now getting repriced. And that created a lot of asymmetric opportunity, which created dollars, and those dollars are going to rotate. We all know how crypto works. Like there is no, like, this time is going to be different. I think like it's always the same story.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be the same.
I think,
and
so.
You should bet on that, because
so.
betting on it being different this time, even if it's different once in a while, it's like it's a losing bet.
I think
it's a more frustrating bet.
It's a terribly frustrating bet. Yeah. Try to outsmart the market.
I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be different purely based on the extent of it. I think the behavior and the things that play out and the narratives, that's all going to be the same. Hot ball of money, and I think there's going to be more of it, more interesting, more layers, more narratives. Essentially, what I'm saying is fasten your seatbelts, because I think things are going to get really interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, human behavior can be, it's going to remain predictable. That's probably never going to change. But the difference in sort of how the cycle goes, I mean, in this case, we're having an accelerated move into a new cycle, as we should, because things are better than they have ever been previously, right? Things are more bullish.
I love that. You're such a bull, RT. You're such a bull, brother. I love it.
What did I say that's not 100% factually verifiable?
100%. I love it. It's exactly spot on.
Like, everything's more developed. There's more liquidity. There's more people talking about it. There's less people, like, not talking about it. Like, it should be accelerated, this 4-year cycle. Coming out of 2020, coming out of like 2018, 2019, I mean, it was a joke. It wasn't like, it was still like the laugh at you phase, right? It's like they'll laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I think that's how that goes. There's a triple. This is a triple, by the way.
First
I said I couldn't get. Nobody's here to bring me my second, so I just threw 3 shots of vodka in this Red Bull vodka. But first they ignore you. There you go. Then they laugh at you.
There you go.
Then they fight you. I knew I forgot one. Point is, you've got this ETF stuff. Look, I think it's a joke because I already own an ETF. Like, there are Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, but it's like the US is special and there's more money there by a factor of a lot. And so it's the big narrative. It's the big news. But now you've got Tom Emmer talking about their bill that just passed that basically is going to handcuff the SEC, tell them to fuck off. No more enforcement no more regulation by enforcement or whatever. And so,
by the way, Tom Emmer for president, right?
Yeah, really like that guy. Really like him. Well-spoken, saying all the things that I just agree with so fully. So there's elections coming up. I'm sure he's aware of that. But yeah. So, his bill just passed, and that's going to limit some of the bullshit from the SEC. And it's also going to basically just saying, like, they are not allowed to do what they've been doing until there's proper laws in place. Like, chill the fuck out. Stop killing our industry. Now, he tweeted yesterday that bill had passed. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, like, absolutely, the writing's on the wall for this thing to accelerate through this 4-year, because I don't know if you guys remember the feeling that came with the last bear market. It was very different. I never lost hope during this bear market. I was just trying to play the levels. I was like, I know I'm going all in on this thing at some levels at some time, and I'm going to try to finesse it because I'm a trader. But like, last bear market, I was like, should I quit my job? Should I go back to work? Like, was this all a dream? Like, I was buying into it because it was my first real bear market, first any bear market. So yeah, things are a little different this time. Let's talk about, I mean, look, let's talk about what ETH BTC rallies could mean. I mean, what they have meant historically, because I'll tell you what's an interesting tip today. I always look at this like crypto stock basket. Like, so you see these flushes in crypto, right? Today was fairly crypto native focused flush, in the sense of like, there's a certain cabal that likely just triggered a massive cascade. They don't control Coinstock and Mara and you know, they've all been having pretty good days. You see the ETH ETF is ripping higher. So when I look here and I see like Galaxy is still up 8% on the day and Riot, like it just tells me more and more that that's not the end of the mid rally. I don't think. I'm reading this as just like a nice flush. And I think it's perfect timing because what you've got is Ethereum breaking into that same kind of bull market range that BTC's in. So how poetic is it that we would just like flush out all the fluff and the bullshit before we get into the real party?
Yeah.
So with that said, I kissed my futures account goodbye today. I said, if you want to fucking liquidate me, come and get it because I'm longing this shit. And so I longed it. I would love to say I had all my bid set because every single pump chaser zone in the world hit today on those wicks. I didn't, but somewhere during the recovery, I was just like, fuck it. And I opened some longs. All the liquidation levels are below those wicks. If they go, that's going to wipe out 7% of my portfolio. And I'm no longer a futures trader and I'll just be a spot trader, which frankly might actually improve my quality of life. So I picked up those longs and I'm rolling. Mostly ARB. I don't know. I don't know about you. What is the best ETH proxy? Like in the moment of kind of like, oh shit, I'm not fully prepared with this list. I saw ARB had been ripping. It had just printed its weekly W. It had just retested it. I was like, you know what? If ETH is going to be in style for a little bit, ARB is probably just going to be a nice proxy to that. What did you guys see? Or what do you think?
I think any of the the L2s, because they're just so tied.
Yeah.
I think Uniswap probably.
Ooh, Uniswap. Yeah. Uni kind of had a run. Let's go look. I kept seeing it. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like almost we're from its low, and
it's pretty. Look at this wedge though. This is a wedge I'd been following for a while. It kind of already broke out and came back in, so not too hot, but yeah, could be. I mean, it's certainly a sick impression. I mean, look at this thing since August of 2022. So like a year and a half almost. This thing's just been like in a big fat wedge.
Nice volume on the daily yesterday, it looks like.
Yep. Well, and this is the weekly. So like that was a whole week of just like FU volume. So yeah, certainly looks like a midterm breakout, long-term breakout of a year and a half wedge. I mean, I don't know. I think
like it just would make sense to me. It's like, it's again, like back to the theme of going down the ETH stack. Like the things that are like, obviously Lido is like tied to it. So that's not really like, I don't think it's going to be, it's just going to move with ETH period. But I do think like you got to find those gems. Like it's the next level down the stack. And then everything else below that is like, it's way more of a long-tailed risk. Like you're buying it because there is a product there, like it maybe hasn't been discovered yet, and then it's going to take off. And as that thing matures, it's just going to pick up market beta as it goes. And like I think the beauty coming out of this, there is so much like dust out there, like things that got left for dead that probably are going to opportunistically, like they're still building, they're still growing community. Like those are probably going to be your best upside opportunities, but they're going to come with the risk that if they don't go, you're not going to get the beta of the market.
Yeah. Yeah, we did an exercise like that at the fund this year, just like sifting through a bunch of old projects that were completely washed out, just thinking like, look, a lot of these are dead. Welcome to the graveyard. It's a growing list. It grows every year. But a lot of these projects have devs who have runway, who have product, who have a team, who are still working and grinding and building. And, there's a lot of that sick investment level type stuff where you could, just say you held a bag through last bull. Maybe you could double that entire position for like a few grand. Maybe it was like a 50K bag, and now you can like double it for $1,000. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And I think I'm not sharing the list right now, but there's definitely a few names out there. And I think it's a good time to do some research of like who's still building. And the nice thing is it's getting bullish out there, but you could still probably reach out to teams. It's not like that full blown deep into the bull where nobody wants to talk to you because everyone wants to talk to them.
Right.
You know, you can still get pretty cozy with founders and devs right now. They're all pretty available at this phase of the market.
It's definitely coming, man. Like if it's not there yet, it's coming.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that gives me like some pause, but I'm just like, fuck it, YOLO, I'm going in. On a day like today, is this like all of this did smell a little funny to me as far as like, is this time for the bull where there's just relentless up only with certain nukes and then more up only? Or is this just like kind of an end of the year reflexive move and then we go into sell, you know, tax selling, whatever. All that to say, like, this could be a local top for a little while. But my money is
like you want to see it, right?
Which would be okay as a spot holder. I would be fine with that. That'd be constructive. As the guy who just aped some like futures positions on this nuke, you know, I want to see continuation. But you know, I don't think it's the end of the world either way. It's just it did seem a little early in a cycle, if you will. Even though I do think there's much warranted to say we would just accelerate that cycle.
I don't think,
yeah, it's like the men. Oh, sorry, Jetta, go ahead.
This isn't. I don't think this is a local top. I'm going to outbull the bull and say that we are going to continue.
Yeah, me too. That's. I mean, I'm positioned for that. I had 10% cash. I think I like leveraged a lot of it today. So we're just going to see. You know, these old GANs that I've been rocking for this one. I mean, this one we've been looking at. Kind of forgot about it until somewhere midway through the bull, and now we've been watching it for like over a year, and it's coming into the end of its time, but it's stuck in no man's land now. And the next real stop is up here at 41K, which interestingly on the newer GAN, which I just drew from this sort of low. So this is one we'll get to enjoy watching for the next couple of years. It's also coming in, you know, it's in no man's land and its next level is up around 41K. So maybe GAN knows something. Guy's rolling around in his grave like, haha, fuck you. Got my GAN spare up. You know, this guy used to make these with protractors and pencils, and now we've got the computer to just spit it out. But spooky shit, and both of them are pointing around 41K for any kind of next interactions with them, unless we just drop back and tag 34K, which is the bearish scenario, I suppose.
The question is like also ETF announcement, like sell the news. I would say no, but I think in the short term, probably, because like they're trying to find some price. I think the market is trying to find some price where, like, how do you think about fair value price of Bitcoin with a legitimate ETF in play? But like, it also is like, if that's the case, there's not much Bitcoin on the market. If they need physical Bitcoin, they can't just do it through derivatives. Like, this thing's going higher, like way higher, like way higher.
Yeah. Yeah. No, like that, and that's kind of what I always circle back to is this, like, higher than people, like even the most staunch bulls, not the most staunch bulls. There's guys out there waiting for 10 million, but like, you know, like your trader type guys who are thinking in cycles, who are like, next cycle, we're going to go to 112, next cycle, 250, next cycle, 325. Like, I think most of those guys are going to be blown away and end up sidelined at some point while it still just rips higher. And I do think end of 2025, this time is different. I wouldn't be shocked to see us just keep going. Just destroy all the cycle traders on the third time. Third time's a charm. But look, let's talk about this window, the open window, which I think may have catalyzed today, our move. Well, it starts today. It's a 9-day window. Basically, the idea that you know, something to do with comment periods, not something I'm familiar with, but this idea of like they want to approve, presumably there's people speculating they want to approve all of them at once. Maybe it's like a free market, you know, fairness kind of thing, whatever. And so there's this window that opens today to potentially approve all spot Bitcoin ETFs at once. And then that window's open for 8 days. And after that, some more comment periods start up, and then they wouldn't be able to do them all at once. So it's assumed that they would have to wait till early January, which is probably the window I'm leaning most towards, early January. But expect speculators to go nuts for the next 8 days. And we kind of saw that start off today into the event. Maybe some people thought, you know, like, oh, the opening of the window is tomorrow morning, so they're just waiting for that. And then today was going to be the ETF approval. And then ETH ETF speculation came and just went. So it's been interesting.
So what I'm finding really interesting around this move today is that from the previous 3 weeks, we've always seen like a really positive reaction to the upside, even on like small kind of moves down, like it immediately just reacts and goes back up. We ain't seeing that at the moment. There is a little bit of kind of willingness to get back in, but it's nowhere near what we've seen prior to that, which means obviously that this move today, obviously it was significant, but I'm just curious as to whether like the sentiment has changed substantially for it to take a while before it comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing something that I've seen 100 times before, which is just a lot of bullishness, big breakouts, lots of volume, frenzies of buying, people dunking on Twitter. I predicted this and you're a bear, and like the intense emotions. And then you just get the flush. Yeah. And off of the flush, you get a fairly strong bounce, maybe a mediocre close on the day. But in the days that follow, you just kind of chill and then end up going higher. Okay. The fear passes, the OI's wiped out, and then it's back to business. So there's nothing on this chart on the daily, this is the 4 hour. I wouldn't go any lower than the daily to talk about trend right now for Bitcoin, and there's nothing about it that's anything but an uptrend. So, I think you could look at things like momentum indicators and say like, oh, okay, like, momentum's starting to wane, but in an uptrend, when you're in overbought territory, you can live up there with some unconfirmed bull or bear divs for quite a while. So
I mean, looking at that daily, like looking at the volume profile, it looks like it is in like kind of a lower time frame price discovery thing. But
oh yeah, no, we're just ripping higher for now. Like the one thing I will say is on a technical level, I do think we'll revisit this at some point. And I think that could be the nuke, right? Like when it's all said and done and we're just ripping higher. And then at some point we have like the big, oh my God, it's
the wake up like 30% down.
Yeah, like the 40% down in one day. Like I feel like that could be the filling in of this gap. But like, I feel like we could go, like imagine how bearish it would feel if we were to like do something like this. And then, and then it's just like, and then that's like,
dude, I remember,
like that. A fill in like that, I do expect someday.
My first time I longed Bitcoin, I think it was September. I want to say it was September 19th, 2015, and it was like I had like some small amount of like 12 Bitcoins or something, and it literally from the moment I bought it, it went up 300%. It was at like around $215, something like that. And the thing rallied to like 600 or 700, and I was like, "Holy shit! This is like the second coming of Christ." And literally, I woke up the next morning, and it was down. I want to say one candle was down like 40%, and I was like, I had a lump. Like I had been trading for a long ass multiple decades. I'd never seen volatility like that. And it was like, holy shit, welcome to Bitcoin. And it was exactly that feeling of like, oh my God, I just made the perfect buy. And then it just like wiped a big chunk of it in like one hour candle.
It's amazing how it does that. Yeah. It's like
that's disgusting. Yeah, it's gut wrenching. I mean, you had been trading for a long time at least. So
it still ran me for a loop, man.
Oh, I bet. But like you kind of understood things a bit or something like, you got me going back, getting all nostalgic now. Where is this? So March, May. Okay. Oh, see, it's so small. It's so insignificant. This shit my pants. This is where I discovered Bitcoin. May
2017.
Oh yeah, okay. So I discovered Bitcoin here. I listened to like Joe Rogan podcast and Andreas Antonopoulos interview. It was an old episode, but I just looked up like best Joe Rogan episode, and the Google said, okay, listen to this one. So I got lucky, I guess. And I spent this 2 weeks just like screaming at my bank to unlock my funds to like release them because I had opened a credit line because I didn't have any money. I had like 2K savings. Anyways, I bought like here. but I didn't look at charts at the time, right? So I was just like chomping at the bit. And I woke up to an article that just said, "Pop goes the weasel. Bitcoin drops 30% overnight as investors panic." And I was like, my 10K loan was now 7K. I was just like, oh, I'm fucked. That was like more than my entire savings down in one night. 32%. Yeah, I will not forget that. That was a weekend of hell. Saturday, Friday, Thursday. Yeah, it was not okay.
By the way,
But-
taking that credit line to punt Bitcoin, like balls of steel, bro.
You gotta have them, man. It wasn't an easy decision like overnight. Like I had 2K, I aped it in, and then I was sitting there, and of course, each morning I checked and it was going up. And this was alt season too, so alts were going up way more than this. And I was just like, I was doing the math, and I was like, okay, if I'm already in 15K student debt, what's 25? When I'm living in a basement apartment paying $200 a month into my debt, like I'm fucked anyways. That's how I felt, and I've always been a bit of a gambler. And it was actually a friend. It was a friend of mine. It was a friend of mine who said, because I told him about it. I was like, yo, this Bitcoin thing, this sounds so cool. You should check out this podcast. He goes, well, yeah, I got this credit line. Maybe I'll ape some in from that. And then I was like, credit line, you say? So he gave me the idea, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, it was terrible stress, and I ended up paying it back in that like September. And so I actually sold like 3 Bitcoin here to pay off all my debts or some shit, and then like it just mooned after. But that's the way she goes.
Always
being not quite right, but still just anyways, look, Bitcoin is into this bull market range. I forget who posted this in the pit. Somebody posted it, just like a nice simple, weekly view. And I think anything inside of here, we should just be remaining bullish. I think the ultimate buy at this point would be any kind of retest of this. I'm not waiting for that. But if we do kind of continue higher for a little while here and there's a reversal, I'll probably end up, with some cash in my account, and I'll be buying this on the way down if we get there, 32. But with ETH waking up today, I mean, it's either a news headline blip and we're just back to Bitcoin mode and chill mode and maybe some sideways and down for a bit mode, or it's like the beginning of the leg.
I'm taking a little bit of a bet, a little bit of one that it's a rotation.
The ETH and altcoin rotation begins in earnest.
Yeah, you're gonna start to see flows into, like, you saw this, like, you look at what we've seen for weeks now. You've seen Solana go nuclear, which I love. And then you see this, like, you saw Solana like finally put in a candle, like a down candle, like a meaningful one.
Mm-hmm.
On a day where at the exact same time Ethereum started to pop. Like, they're given that, like, is that rotation? You think it was, but like you can't follow it dollar for dollar, but like,
yeah, I mean, sense. If you want to look at the 4 hour, like, Solana looks closer now than it has in a while to anything that resembles like a top or a reversal, like, or a pause. You get this kind of like a little bit of a blow off here, sweep the highs out, nuke lower, high volume selling. Like, it does look like it's ready to stall for a bit, which is fine. It's been up only for like a month, but yeah, I'm with you there. Momo's stopped going higher. And the other thing is too, and I was saying this at this high, you rarely get the last high in the move on the highest volume, because that just indicates there's still a ton of buyers interested. The scarier thing, or the thing that should give you pause, is when you get the latest high on reducing volume. That means price has gone higher, but there's less interest of people buying up there. And that's usually how tops start. I'd agree with you. And that would be an interesting rotation. I mean, Solana stuff has been mooning. Look at Bonk, look at Marinade. The top.
Bonk went bonkers.
Just ripped today, I think. This morning, I was seeing a lot of.
It was up like 10x in this move. Like,
oh yeah, it's been on fire. El Fuego. Look at this. I mean, this is the daily, so it's like literally absolutely parabolic right now.
Another Hxro Network staking reward. Yeah.
I know. Actually, all my bonk that I own is from Hxro Network staking. So it's not a ton, but I own bonk, and that's why. And then MNDE Marinade
Yeah.
has also been just El Fuego coming in.
I am
its
a huge
second.
fan of Marinade. They are like a hardened liquid staking venue on Solana, and obviously there's a big trend moving there. Jito's
Mhm.
made some noise now. Marinade. There's one called Blaze. I think you're going to see a lot out of these things this coming next few months.
Yeah.
That's a beauty. That chart's a beauty. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it just and it slid through the reload zone. We were reminiscing about it the other day on stream, because this, of all the coins, they get away all the time, but this is one that got away from me, and it annoyed me because I was so bullish on it here. I was like, hey, look, it broke out. It's in the reload zone. And then I sold it because it was going down. and I just didn't visit this trough at all. And then it 10x. So that's the way she goes. I don't own any Marinade, and that's a it's going to happen. But
how does that? I mean, does that
ripping.
track from a beta perspective? I would assume that's tracked Solana pretty closely.
No, it was in its weird, in a sense of when Solana's mooning, it does really well, and when Solana's meh, it kind of flatlines. But I mean, it wouldn't attract it here because it was literally flat for 2 months. I mean, this is your classic case. Kids, listen up, write this in your notebooks. This is 71 days of put you to sleep and make you look somewhere else. And the best coins are going to do that to you. The best investments, the best buys, the top shit you could ever want to buy. Pay attention to it when it makes you want to go to sleep. You guys want to hear a really gross one? You're going to like this one, Gunny. The homies at DSO. Okay, good. It came back, so I'm not too sad. Bro, I owned this one. I mean, from launch. So I had an old free bag from way, way, way back. But I bought in July, and I moved it into my Coinbase in July. So it was that back here. Okay. So I've been buying and loading up since there, and I sold it
to the
right here.
No.
I sold it. Now it's not I sold it because I'm bearish. It's I just switched over to Doge because I was yo, Doge is gonna rip for the next 2 months, and DSO's a fucking stable coin. I'll come back and buy more later. I shit you not, 70 hours after selling it, after a 3 to 4 month plus 2 years hold, it ripped 25%. Everyone's yo, DSO, random task, DSO. I'm shut the fuck.
DSO apparently and again questionably, questionable whether or not this even matters. But DSO is actually a long Bitcoin proxy.
Yeah.
Because
2,500 Bitcoin or 2,400.
Dude, they have there you go. It's what is that, $80 million worth of Bitcoin?
Yeah, and they don't have an equity stake. So theoretically, token holders are holding a piece of the treasury. Now, I don't think there's any redemptions, but we calculated this. I put this out in a tweet a few months ago. Smeedy actually came on here, and he calculated that their treasury should make every token worth about this much. And look at that. So I mean, DSO's been trading at treasury value for
is that $10, $9,
6 months? Yeah, 8 to 10, really. Well, 8 to 9, and that's
what did
really
it trade up to in this move?
Well, that's the thing. So it wasn't being viewed as a Bitcoin proxy, obviously, because Bitcoin's been ripping for a while, and this thing didn't move. But it broke out for 20% yesterday, and now it's retesting. So I guess if I'm really that salty, I could buy back now for 20 cents more. I'd have to sell my Doge though, and I'm really bullish on Doge.
Dude, it really is DSO is really a great trading coin.
Well,
if it could trade like that with some volume.
That's the problem, though. It's not very liquid. It's actually okay. I will say this: the books have been thickening over the past, I want to say, year, but yeah, it's not super liquid. You can't move 10 and 20 and 50K slugs in and out of it without moving it. So you wouldn't get much out of it. I guess what you're saying is buying low end of this range and high end, selling high end.
Yeah, it would seem like there's some you could. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, obviously.
Yeah, here you could have been just buying low, selling highs, but
that easy.
Buy low, sell high, guys. This is the best coin to trade. But no, you could have done that with 5K slugs maybe, and then made your 12%. It's not that great, but
Makes sense.
I showed you on Doge, right?
You did the other day.
I mean, it's Dogecoin, right? Like whatever. Take it with a grain of salt. I've never been very good at catching dogs, but this thing, they're launching a literal moon rocket. They're launching a
That
rocket.
looks so bullish.
It just, they're launching a fucking rocket into space, and it's going to have
Can I
a
ask you a
Doge
question?
1 character on it. I don't even know what that means. I just know that Doge physically is going to go to the real moon, and that launch is set for January 12th, 2024, which is 2 months away plus 2 days. So it just breaks out of this like weekly compression. It's chilling in the pump chaser zone. We just flushed out all the longs, and you don't own any Doge, Anon? Seems like weird to me. Seems weird to me to not have, like, it seems
Dude,
weird.
I'm buying those right now. Fuck you.
It seems weird, like, and it's
I'm
still
on
down
it.
here. Yeah, like here's
Where did Doge peak in 21?
Oh, like 70 cents, 60
Like
cents.
78 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like remarkably, have you ever met anybody? Like I have not in crypto
74.
met anybody that was like, I became a multi-millionaire from my Doge position.
No.
I've never met anybody.
No.
Like you could have had Doge at like fractions of a penny for all
Dude,
for the world, and nobody got it.
It's because they
old like. Yeah. Sorry? Go ahead, Jedi.
No, I was gonna say that's because they never really like cultivated this cult following that holds onto the coin until kingdom come, like your Carbongos and your XRPs. It's like.
I will say.
Right.
I had a little bit of pain about Doge. An OG Bitcoin mining buddy of mine who is like also an OG at TRI, and we met him years ago, and it was like 2019, 2020. And through the last bear market, he was just like, just buy Doge. I was like, what are you doing? Like, your shit, Shane. What are you doing? He's like, just buying Doge. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like it always pumps. Just don't overthink it. Go enjoy your life. Just buy Doge. Didn't buy a fucking single one. And it was trading at a 20th of a cent. And yeah, like you're right,
Look at
I mean, even putting 1 Bitcoin into that, trading an account of 10 Bitcoins or something, he's like, oh, throw 1 in there. Like, you'll be all right. And then fucking, yeah, it was good. So,
I got to teach you to trade spreads. And then I got to, and then you got your bags. You don't punt leverage. You use leverage to trade spreads, and and like that finances the bills while you wait for your bags to move. Feels like it would be the right play.
I like that idea, like that lower volatility yield grabbing spread trading style.
Yeah, you grind on it, lower vol, earn incentives while you're doing it, the whole bit, and then you got your unlevered or your like super low levered, it makes sense to me to take a big directional bet, like on a long-term hold on Bitcoin. Like you buy it in the dip and you take 3 times leverage, 4 times leverage, like you're just borrowing a little bit for it, and then you have these other trades that are not like dependent on the punt, like on the up down, and then. And you let that pay your bills for you while you wait for your, wait for the more macro market to do its thing. And like, man, you ever had one of those, I mean, we've all had these positions where you put something on and you forgot about it, or you put an order in, you forgot about it and you got filled. And like, you go back 9 months later in the middle of like a bull market and you're like, holy shit. And you're like, there's no way I would have ever held on to this thing if I actually knew it was there. But
yeah, yep.
It's
forgotten
like,
bags are a gift sometimes.
Dude, I look at leverage so much, and it's more just from the trading world that I came from. But like, I look at leverage and borrowing, not to gear like directional bets as much as it is to borrow. So you can be more capital efficient when you're trading things that like have, you're trading more arbitrage or dislocations or things like that, like of one asset compared to another. So I'm excited to start teaching people this stuff in the crypto world. It's probably going to fall on deaf ears, but it's the way to do it.
Gunny, the thing is, I already do that kind of like, it's just something that I figured out on my own. I know that sounds almost like an arrogant statement to make, but it's like, really does make sense, right? Like, if you're going to borrow, you kind of borrow to be capital efficient so that you can actually not necessarily risk the money, but let the money kind of work better for you. I know that's kind of like the same thing, but there's many layers to that.
It's like folding. It's like why folding?
Folding, is that what it's called? Okay.
Well, like folding when you were like in DeFi, in peak DeFi summer, or in 2021, everyone was like folding. Like I'm getting yield on this thing. I'm taking a token from it. I'm going to put it in this other thing,
Yes.
and then if I can go borrow on it and a borrow lend,
Looping.
Looping,
Yeah.
lever it up.
Looping, folding, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think it's folding. But I was thinking about poker. I was like, but looping through.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that, now I don't know about you guys, I actually struggle with DeFi. Like, not like I struggle with it. I know how to do it. I just find it irritating, like, especially on Ethereum. Like, you're trying to make 10 things happen, and it's just like, approve, wait 30 seconds, pay $12, like. And so sometimes, and especially with kids now, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta go. I'll be down in a sec for dinner, but it's like, I've got to make 3 trades. Like, I've got to sell 3 shitcoins. I got to buy 3 shitcoins. It takes me 10 minutes. So the whole looping thing never really stuck with me, because it just seemed like to get out of that position would be 30 transactions. And then, so you get this like deeply ingrained leverage baked into like 5 lending protocols over time. And then we saw the result of that. There's got to be a better way. And that's not like a subtle Solana shill on like speed and efficiency. I just mean, like, is there some way you could one click execute your unwind of a multi-looped position across 4 protocols? Like, is there an aggregate service that just needs to be?
Yeah, vaults. That's what vaults need to be.
Yes.
Like vaults with responsible leverage in them. Like,
so you deposit into a vault. It does a bunch of shitty, like, not shitty, but like crazy intense looping on the back end. It pumps out a yield for you, and you can still just pull out 1 click of the vault and put in 1 click of the vault.
Yep.
I guess.
So there's
today's the day I learned about vaults.
There's a platform on Solana called Meteora, which is and only possible on Solana. It's actually the founders of Jupiter, which we all know about Jupiter now, have this other platform called Meteora that really is like a stable swap vault platform, and they're starting to do some stuff. Like, they got something coming. Like, they're actually going to be launching like a Trader Joe style V3 pools, but they're doing something really cool around like being able to sweep, like something I'm actually started thinking about with Hxro Network, about composing with them to like take unencumbered USDC. So like, you're a derivatives trader, you have a trading account, you have excess USDC, like you could sweep it into a Meteora pool. Like, one thing that Solana is really missing is like a money market equivalent. So you don't have USDC that's just sitting there collecting dust. So you can like sweep it into this pool. Now, here's where Solana is so fucking kick ass, is that if you need that capital, it's like literally like 1 block, 400 milliseconds, you can sweep back out of it and get it back. Cannot do that on any other blockchain.
No. I've got it up here.
Like fractions of a penny, right?
It looks like they have a token. Is it live? Can I trade it?
Yeah, I think there's. I don't.
What is it? MEE. Go take a look.
No. I don't even know if it's live.
Not yet. I do see a daily W on Hxro token though, so we're just gonna leave it there. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk. We're still never allowed to talk about that.
No, I'm gonna. You guys can talk about it. I'm gonna turn my head.
Okay.
I'm not gonna talk about it. You talk about it.
The core contributor to Hxro Nation has officially turned his head. Let the jury note. And we've got a fat W coming out of a reload zone after a weekly W. So that's exciting. Love to see it. I'm back in range. Get on my LP, guys. Radium Pool is getting 25% of all the fees collected on Hero Network, and I am most of that pool. So MFers should get in there and enjoy some of that with me. It's not in my best interest to say it, but sharing is caring. Okay, you can look back.
He's gone.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. Okay. Wait, what? No, you missed it. You literally turned your head. You turned your digital head. Okay.
Oh, I'm not fucking around. I don't have any part of that.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to talk about the LP giving out 25% of all the rewards to the LPs. Here's a fun chart if you guys want. Well, you can't actually get it anymore. I think Trendmaster got deprecated. It's like if you owned it, you own it, but they're like the team is like, yeah, we're rich now. We don't want to sell this anymore. But it's just a cool trend thing. You guys have seen it before on my charts, and I've been watching it. So this is a great day. Interestingly, the trailing stop got hit. So if I was officially trading this thing, but I just use it on days like today to remind myself the trend is up. And buy levels are typically this white line, or well, green. Turns green when things get really spicy. So quick fire, Jedi. The market's nuking. You have 4 minutes to deploy 50K. Which 3 coins are you deploying it into? You can choose 3. Given the backdrop of Ethereum, ETF, and everything else.
I think Ethereum would definitely be the first one. I would be inclined to consider kind of like the strength that we've seen, and I would stick with Link for now. I think some people would argue that we possibly at a local top, but I don't think it's going to last. I think it's going to continue going up. And then I think the third one, I'm still very much in line with what Injective is doing. There could be an argument for Solana, so I'm torn between those two.
So INJ, Ethereum, and Link.
And possibly Solana. So it's between those four.
Not like the bags you already hold that are your favorite.
No.
I'm talking about where to buy when, because those are all pies in the sky already. You're telling me to buy highs?
Are you looking for what's
Let's flip
coming?
the chart. No, like just today. It's like, hey, today I've got some money to deploy. I just like thinking about actionable stuff because I actually do have
a
little bit more in my leverage
account.
Bring it up. And I want to be very irresponsible with it because it's the end of a generation.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go completely left field. I'm going to say Arweave. I'm going to say
now we're talking. Get greasy with me, baby.
Yeah. I think it's
like
definitely Arweave's definitely one of them. I think TON.
Yeah.
That's really come out with some interesting numbers today around just how fast it is on Telegram, dude. Yeah. It's like a whole payment thing as well. I think I'm going
to have to go chart CoinTrader Pro. Let's go TON.
And then for some reason, I really like the whole AI thing. And I look sort of like to the one that I think's really getting started, and that's Casper, I think it is. KAS.
Isn't that the one that like had a crazy run all year?
I think it's only getting started. I think
Casper?
It's going to carry on.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, this is a weekly, so this thing's been up only since September.
Subscribe to Blockmates.
Yeah, seriously, keep an eye on that. But like on first mention, holy moly, man! Am I thinking of the right one? I thought Casper had more.
So I'll tell you why.
History.
I'll tell you why I like.
Oh yeah,
it.
here's Casper. So this is from June.
So I'll tell you why I like it right now is that it's the one thing that's really popping off the back of this flush stronger than possibly anything out there. Just saying.
Let's go see the hourly. Although this is admittedly,
and I don't have a position. I wish I had.
Cass?
Yeah.
Let me go find Cass on like an hourly to see how it reacted today. Yeah. I mean, the hour shot right back up.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if you want to trade a bull market, And let's just save the debate. Is it a bear? Is it a bull? Is it a washing machine? Is it a, like the bottom line is we're in a bullish trend. And if you want to trade a bullish trend in crypto, you typically have to position yourself before it starts, ideally. And barring that, say you missed it. I did. Then you have to look for the continuation trade. I'm going to go to DYDX because that's one that I actually picked up last weekend after being a little bit stressed. I was a little bit stressed about having missed certain things. And then I noticed DYDX had broken out of a pretty decent long consolidation and then was retesting it last weekend. And so I picked that up. So it's like the continuation. Sure, I didn't load up
You know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, they're doing a V4.
And they're going to start sharing fees.
Yes, the fee switch is going on, right? So there's a catalyst behind this breakout on volume, but I feel like reclaiming that level, I was like, I'm comfortable buying that level. So be positioned prior to any bullishness at all is your number one job. If you can't do that, then buy the first retest or the breakout, right? But if you can't do that, and that's still most people, you just have to sit and chill and not get too much FOMO and not get sucked into the bullshit. And you wait for a day like today, which is your flush. And it doesn't take a scientist to spot that. I mean, the whole fucking market just went zonk at once. And then you try to position yourself somewhere in that red candle where your new invalidation for I'm going to be bullish on this asset is the bottom of that wick. If you want to be a trader, if you want to be an investor, just find those wicks and start buying them. But like for the next leg, if we're being bullish from here, the wick we made today should not be visited, should not be swept, should not be finagled in any way. So you really have three options in a bull market: be positioned prior to the bullishness, or buy the first retest or pullback after a breakout of a range, or just wait for nuke days and load up and then risk against the wick of the nuke. Sounds easy. It's kind of hard.
Good advice.
But that's it. And if you don't do it today because you don't believe me, certainly not here to advise you specifically on what to buy, how to spend your money, but like watch and see. And if we trend higher and we get into some rip-roaring bull in the next few weeks, you're going to have to sit and chill and try not to FOMO, and there will be another nuke. One of the days those nukes mark the top and we roll down for quite a while, but I just don't think this is the one for whatever it's worth. I think everyone on this stream is pretty bullish, so could be risky.
Could be risky.
Could be risky, but all three of us are kind of betting on this being a big flush out, and then we're going to see continuation. And I think the biggest indicator of that is, let's think objectively. What is the thing that's been driving us on a narrative perspective? Bitcoin ETF. Has it been approved yet? No. Is the speculation still there? Yes. So it should continue.
Yeah.
What is the new catalyst that weirdly marked the nuke today? Ethereum now, ETF. Is that thing about to be exhausted? No, it just started today. And if we go look at Ethereum on the weekly, it's just breaking into a massive bull, Bitcoin range, or excuse me, bull market range that Bitcoin entered a few weeks ago. So objectively, there's nothing about this that says we're done now. It's actually looking in weird ways like it's just getting started for a little bit. So that's all I've got. And I'm done.
It's good. Good to finish with that.
Yeah.
I like it. Let's finish on that note.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to we're beating this horse from every which direction now. Time to just sit and chill. Now look, aside from like what would be really nasty is if we like swept this morning's wicks and then went. That's going to stop me out of everything or liquidate me. But and when I speak about liquidations, guys, just remember my futures account is like 5% of my portfolio, so just be careful. But aside from that, yeah, got some longs in. All of them are pretty shit and invalidated below these wicks today, but DYDX, Arbitrum, and Dogecoin. Those are the three. If I asked you that question, Jedi, and my answer to that would be Arbitrum because of Ethereum, Dogecoin because of this rocket thing in January, and then DYDX because of this fee switch tokenomic and that sick technical setup we just looked at. I hold some ETH. I didn't long it today. It was already in the sky, so we're just going to chill. And that's it. I think we should wrap. Should we wrap? Let's wrap.
Let's wrap.
It's been an hour and 15 minutes. That's a good amount of time. There's much work to be done in the day.
We said what we had to. We didn't talk about derivatives on Solana. We can do that next time. No big deal.
Yeah, we should. I mean, that's originally why we brought you in. We've got lots to talk about coming up. There's a lot of things brewing in the kitchen, but then the nuke came, so we have to talk markets. It's okay.
Exactly.
There's a lot of shit going on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Take care of yourselves out there. We've said all the things we have to say. So until next time, whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Take care.
I love that saying. See you guys.
You got to do it.